Beetle Ute builders. Here's my latest version of the floor spare tire access. So obviously car is still in work. Did the Ranger tailgate handle. The new floor system on the Beetle kits is the sheet aluminum. Comes in 2 pieces, which actually works out great to put a piano hinge in. So the 2-panel system instead of the 3 long panels is actually significantly easier to build. But really what I'm trying to get to is here. So at that seam, put a piano hinge, a stainless steel piano hinge. Got it off of Amazon. They also have them at Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. Whatever your favorite source is. Those 4 bolts there actually go through that floor panel, through the piano hinge flange, and into the floor spar that goes across there. Okay, couple of hinges. Pop them, right? And pick that guy up. And spare tire access. It's all set up the same way. The floor spar is still the removable bit. There you can see that the 2 edges of the different floor panels sit on that floor spar. So the only thing I have left to work out is a prop rod. Trying to minimize what I bolt through this floor panel so it looks nice and clean. So the forward edge there, it's actually panel bond that hinge. So I panel bond and clamped it down with a couple of rods just to get even pressure across all the clamps. So the prop rod will probably catch on this hinge. All right, but that's small potatoes. I'm sorry, not the hinge, the latch. For the latches, I contemplated doing one big one that goes in the center here. It would be in this area here, much like a toolbox latch. A little heavier duty, they're kind of nice. But with only 1 latch, then you'll get a little more rock. By getting 2 latches, that panel is held down a little better. And I probably will put a little bit of felt or rubber around the periphera, so when it's latched down, it's sealed probably along in there. And that will help dampen any tin canning or oil canning or whatever you call it. For the latches, so I have them set to full open, and I went with the notch that is already in the, here in the, I don't know what you call these, longitudinal floor spars maybe. I glued a little piece of synthetic plastic with a piece of aluminum on the bottom, so the latch actually goes on that aluminum, not on the plastic, so it doesn't wear into it over time. So that's just how I worked out the latches. There's a million different ways to do latches, but these are easily available. They're the same ones I used on the Mark V. Anyway, that was a pretty simple plan. Be cautious if you do something like this. I had to trim that floor panel a little bit narrower, right? So you can see this gap is a little bigger there than it is up forward further, because you need clearance. Don't forget when you mock it up to set your rail caps on, because you need clearance. That clearance, right, of where, now those aren't glued on. They're not actually in place, but when I was mocking it up, I clamped them in, so it was pretty good. Right now, it's sitting on the latch back here a little bit. But just remember, when you do that, it's a whole lot easier to do it while you have this panel is out, right, to trim it down. I think I took a 1/2 inch off and put a 1/4 gap on each side just to get that clearance. And of course, if you do some coating, you know, you don't want it rubbing on the coating if you do a bed coating, or if you polish it or whatever, you don't want it to rub. So remember to mock it up with your rail caps, at least temporarily in place, if not permanently in place. Pretty simple though. That hinge is doing great. I've been playing around with it and leaning on it to make sure the glue wouldn't pop or anything. Of course, prep the aluminum very well. I used 60 grit rotodisc type, you know, scored it up real well before you epoxy that on there. Same on the stainless steel hinge, because if that breaks loose, that's kind of a pain in the ass. If I do need to remove it, I can take those 4 bolts out and that whole panel will come out. So, you know, maintenance or what have you, or if I do have a problem with the hinge, whatever. So that's a plan. That hinge is not hidden. On the Mark V, I did much more complicated hinge system because I was trying to hide the hinge. So, you know, it's visible, but that's almost the size of the crack, the gap that you're gonna have anyway. So it's not bad. I'm pretty happy with it. I hope Gene's happy with it. This is Gene's car. And it's fairly simple to figure out. A single sheet of 1/8 inch aluminum, the latch won't sandwich tight enough on that. You could put a longer bolt in, but then you run into clearance problems as you open and close. Right, if you look at that bolt, if that bolt stuck out this way further, I run into clearance issues as I'm closing it on this surface. Right, you could back the hinges out towards the center a little more to make up for that, but I liked this setup better, and that's sort of replaceable where it latches on there. Let's see if I can get a focus. So that's just a little tiny piece of, it's actually one of the spacers, that PVC spacers that come with a scrap piece of aluminum welded on the bottom, or glued on the bottom. The 3M panel bond, so it isn't going anywhere. So if that wore out, I could chip it off and glue a new one on there. Anyway, that's my idea on this one. More ideas coming.